When Ethan Wilson uncovers a cryptic message on his wife Emily's phone, his perfect life in Seattle unravels. The 32-year-old IT specialist's world shatters as he discovers her betrayal with his manipulative boss, Nate Russell, who's entangled in a web of corporate blackmail. Fueled by heartbreak but refusing to break, Ethan teams up with a sharp lawyer and a cunning private investigator to expose the truth. As secrets unravel, Emily's coercion, Nate's schemes, and an unexpected ally, Ethan crafts a calculated plan for justice. Will he outsmart Nate and reclaim his life, or will the truth destroy him? Packed with shocking twists, raw emotion, and a gripping courtroom showdown, this tale of betrayal and redemption keeps you hooked until the final moment. Watch Ethan rise from the ashes of deceit to find hope, proving that even the deepest wounds can lead to a new beginning. Don't miss this roller coaster of trust, revenge, and second chances. Ethan Wilson leaned back in his chair, the glow of his laptop screen casting shadows across his sleek Seattle apartment. At 32, he'd just sealed the deal of a lifetime, a multi-million-dollar contract with a Silicon Valley tech giant. His IT firm, Apex Solutions, was about to skyrocket, and his boss, Nate Russell, had already texted him a thumbs-up emoji with a promise of a hefty bonus. Ethan grinned, imagining the future. Maybe now he and his wife, Emily, could finally start the family they dreamed of during their 7 years of marriage. Emily, a 30-year-old middle school teacher, was his rock, or so he thought. With her warm hazel eyes and infectious laugh, she'd always been the one to ground him. They'd met at a coffee shop near the University of Washington, bonding over spilled lattes and shared dreams. Now, as he sipped his coffee, Ethan felt a surge of gratitude for their life together. But a nagging unease lingered, a shadow cast by a recent company retreat in the Clear Lake Mountains. The retreat had been Nate's idea, a weekend of team building for Apex's top performers. Ethan, Nate, and a dozen colleagues had hiked, kayaked, and toasted marshmallows under the stars. Emily had joined them, charming everyone with her wit. But something felt off when they returned. Emily had been distant, her usual warmth replaced by curt replies and late-night phone scrolling. Ethan chalked it up to work stress. Her school year was about to start. But the unease grew. That evening, as Ethan cleared the dinner table, Emily's phone buzzed on the counter. A notification flashed, "Miss you already." And Ethan froze, his heart thudding. Nate? His boss? He hesitated, then picked up the phone. The lock screen blocked him, but the message burned into his mind. Why was Nate texting Emily so casually? They'd always been friendly, but this felt personal. He set the phone down, trying to shake off the suspicion. Emily walked in, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, and smiled faintly. "Everything okay, babe?" she asked, grabbing her phone. "Yeah, just tired," Ethan lied, forcing a grin. "Big day tomorrow." She nodded, already engrossed in her screen, and slipped into the bedroom. Ethan's stomach churned. He didn't want to believe she'd betray him, but the pieces didn't fit. Over the next few days, the signs piled up. Emily was late coming home, claiming parent-teacher meetings. She avoided his touch, brushing off his attempts at affection with excuses about headaches. Then, one night, while doing laundry, Ethan found a pair of her jeans in the hamper. A faint, unfamiliar scent clung to them. Not her usual lavender perfume, but something musky, masculine. His throat tightened as he held the fabric, his mind racing. Unable to sleep, Ethan confided in his friend Caleb, a fellow IT specialist who'd recently left Apex for a rival firm, Empire Technologies. Over beers at a downtown bar, Caleb listened, his brow furrowed. "Man, that's rough," he said, setting down his glass. "You sure it's not just paranoia? Emily's always been solid." "I thought so too," Ethan muttered. "But that text from Nate, and now this? I need to know." Caleb leaned forward. "If you're serious, get proof. Don't confront her without it. There's a lawyer I know, Laura Davis. She's a shark with divorce cases. She'll point you in the right direction." The next morning, Ethan sat in Laura Davis's office, a modern space with a view of Puget Sound. Laura, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, listened as Ethan poured out his fears. "I don't want to believe Emily's cheating," he said, his voice cracking. "But I can't ignore this." Laura nodded, her pen tapping her notepad. "You need evidence, Ethan. Hearsay won't hold up if it comes to divorce. I can recommend a private investigator, Marcus Gray. He's discreet and thorough. If there's something to find, he'll find it." Ethan hesitated. Hiring a PI felt like crossing a line, but the doubt gnawed at him. "Okay," he said finally. "Do it." Laura handed him a card. "Marcus will reach out today. In the meantime, act normal. Don't tip her off. If she's hiding something, you'll need the element of surprise." That afternoon, Marcus Gray called. His voice was calm, professional. "Mr. Wilson, I'll need access to Emily's phone to install a tracking app. Can you manage that?" Ethan's got twisted, but he agreed. That night, while Emily showered, he slipped into their bedroom, her phone unlocked on the nightstand. His hands shook as he followed Marcus's instructions, installing the app in minutes. Guilt flooded him, but the image of that text, "Miss you already," and pushed him forward. The next day, Ethan flew to San Francisco for a client meeting, the new contract demanding his attention. But his mind was on Emily. Marcus sent updates. Emily had been tracked to Nate's upscale condo in Capitol Hill, not her school. Ethan's heart sank, but he forced himself to focus. He couldn't let Nate see his suspicion, not yet. Back home, Emily greeted him with a kiss, but it felt hollow. "How was the trip?" she asked, her smile strained. "Fine," Ethan replied, his voice flat. "How's school prep going?" "Oh, crazy," she said, avoiding his eyes. "Lots of meetings." Ethan nodded, his jaw tight. That night, Marcus sent a bombshell, photos of Emily entering Nate's condo, laughing with him on the balcony. Worse, Marcus uncovered whispers of Nate's side hustle, using private parties to charm clients into shady deals, with Emily caught in the mix. Ethan stared at the images, his world tilting. This wasn't just an affair. It was something darker. Ethan Wilson sat in his San Francisco hotel room, the city's skyline glittering beyond the window. His laptop was open, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying the photos Marcus Gray, the private investigator, had sent. Emily, his wife of 7 years, laughing on Nate Russell's balcony in Seattle. The images burned into his brain, her hand on Nate's arm, their heads close, the intimacy unmistakable. Ethan's chest tightened, a mix of betrayal and disbelief churning inside him. This wasn't just a fling. Marcus's message hinted at something bigger, something darker. His phone buzzed. A new email from Marcus, "Found more. Call me." Ethan dialed, his pulse racing. Marcus's voice was steady but urgent. "Ethan, it's worse than you think. Nate's running a side game, private parties at his condo, roping in clients for shady deals. Emily's involved, maybe not by choice. I've got audio from her phone. Sending now." Ethan opened the file, his hands trembling. Emily's voice crackled through his earbuds, talking to her friend Sarah. "Nate's got me in deep, Sarah. He promised a promotion, but now he's got stuff on me. I can't get out." The words hit like a punch. Was Emily a victim or a willing player? Ethan's heart wanted to believe the former, but the photos told a different story. He scrolled through Marcus's report. Nate, his charismatic boss at Apex Solutions, wasn't just cheating with Emily. He hosted exclusive client meetings at his Capitol Hill condo, wining and dining tech execs. Marcus's intel suggested Nate used compromising situations to pressure clients into signing inflated contracts. Emily, it seemed, was part of the charm offensive, her presence softening the deals. Ethan's stomach turned. His wife wasn't just unfaithful, she was a pawn in Nate's scheme. A memory flashed, the Clear Lake retreat, where it all started. Nate had been overly attentive to Emily, insisting she join the team for drinks. Ethan had been sent back to the office early for urgent work, leaving Emily behind. Now it clicked, Nate had orchestrated it. Ethan's jaw clenched. He trusted Nate, his mentor who'd praised his work and promised a bright future. All lies. Ethan called Caleb, his friend at Empire Technologies, needing a sounding board. "Nate's using Emily to manipulate clients," he said, his voice low. "It's not just an affair. It's a whole operation." Caleb whistled. "That's next level dirty. You got proof?" "Photos, audio," Marcus's digging, Ethan replied. "Enough to bury him." "Don't confront them yet," Caleb warned. "Nate's got connections. You need a plan. Laura Davis can help." Ethan met Laura, his lawyer, via video call the next morning. Her sharp eyes narrowed as he shared Marcus's findings. "This is bigger than infidelity," she said, scribbling notes. "If Nate's blackmailing clients, we can hit him with a civil suit, alienation of affection, maybe even fraud. But we need ironclad evidence. Marcus should keep digging. Can you get me Emily's texts? Ethan nodded, though guilt gnawed at him. Spying on Emily felt like a betrayal even if she'd betrayed him first. Back in Seattle, he slipped into their apartment while Emily was at school prep. Her phone lay on the kitchen counter, unlocked. He synced it to Marcus's software, pulling weeks of messages. Most were mundane, but one thread with Nate stood out. You were amazing last night. Keep the clients happy and we're golden. Ethan's blood boiled. He forwarded it to Marcus. That night, Emily came home, her smile forced. How's San Francisco? She asked, avoiding his gaze. Busy, Ethan said, studying her. Did she know he was on to her? You okay? You seem off. Just stressed, she mumbled, retreating to the bedroom. Ethan's phone pinged, a new message from Marcus. Got a lead. Nate's next party is tomorrow night. I'll stake it out. Stay cool. Ethan barely slept, torn between rage and heartbreak. The next day, he closed the Silicon Valley deal, his professionalism masking the storm inside. Nate called to congratulate him, his voice dripping with charm. Great work, Ethan. You're a star. Drinks when you're back. Sure, Ethan said, forcing calm. He wanted to scream, to demand answers, but Laura's words echoed, don't tip them off. Marcus's update came that evening. Bingo, he texted, attaching a grainy video. Emily in a sleek dress, mingling with suited men at Nate's condo. Nate's hand rested on her back, possessive. Marcus's note read, one of those guys is a client I recognize, big fish from a rival firm. Nate's playing dirty. I'm tailing him tomorrow. Ethan's heart sank deeper. Emily wasn't just cheating, she was complicit in Nate's game. But her words to Sarah haunted him, I can't get out. Was she trapped? He needed answers, but confronting her now could ruin everything. Laura's advice was clear, build the case, then strike. A surprise came the next morning. Caleb texted, heard from a buddy at Apex. One of Nate's clients is pissed, thinks Nate's squeezing him. He might talk if you approach him. Ethan's pulse quickened. An ally inside Nate's circle? This could be the break he needed. He called Laura, who was all business. If this client flips, we've got leverage. Get his name to Marcus. We'll draft a suit against Nate, alienation of affection for you, maybe coercion for Emily. But you need to stay focused. One wrong move and Nate could turn this on you. Ethan stared at his wedding ring, the metal cold against his skin. He'd loved Emily fiercely, but the woman in those photos felt like a stranger. Yet doubt lingered, could he save her from Nate's grip? Or was she too far gone? As his plane touched down in Seattle, Ethan made a vow. He'd uncover every secret, expose Nate, and take back his life, no matter the cost. Ethan Wilson sat in his Seattle apartment, the dim light of a single lamp casting long shadows across the room. His laptop screen glowed with Marcus Gray's latest report, a detailed dossier on Nate Russell's shady client parties. Photos showed Emily mingling with tech execs, her smile tight, Nate's hand hovering too close. The audio from her phone, her desperate plea to Sarah about being trapped, played on loop in Ethan's mind. Was she a victim of Nate's manipulation, or had she chosen this? The question gnawed at him, but one thing was clear, Nate had to pay. Ethan's phone buzzed. Marcus's text, client's name is Victor Hayes, CTO at Tech Trend. He's ready to talk. Meet me tomorrow, 8 p.m., Pike Place. Ethan's heart raced. Victor could be the key to dismantling Nate's empire. Caleb's tip had been spot on, Nate's greed had made enemies. Ethan called Laura Davis, his lawyer, to share the breakthrough. This is huge, Laura said, her voice sharp. If Victor confirms Nate's blackmail, we can build a case for fraud and alienation of affection. But we need his testimony locked in. The next morning, Ethan moved through his day at Apex Solutions like a ghost, dodging Nate's fake smiles in the office. Big meeting tonight, Nate said, clapping Ethan's shoulder. You're killing it on the Silicon Valley deal. Ethan nodded, his stomach twisting. He wanted to slam Nate against the wall, demand answers about Emily, but Laura's warning held him back. Stay cool, or you'll lose the upper hand. That evening, Ethan met Marcus at a crowded cafe overlooking Pike Place Market. Marcus, a wiry man in his 40s, slid a folder across the table. Victor's fed up, he said. Nate strong-armed him into a $2 million contract with compromising photos from one of those parties. Emily was there, playing host. Victor's willing to testify if you protect his name. Ethan flipped through the folder, emails, contract drafts, a photo of Victor looking uneasy next to Emily. His jaw tightened, Emily was deeper in this than he'd feared. What's Nate got on her? Ethan asked, his voice low. Marcus leaned in. From what I've pieced together, Nate lured her with promises, better job, connections. Then he recorded her at these parties, probably drunk or worse, to keep her compliant. She's scared, Ethan. But that doesn't excuse her. Ethan's chest ached. He remembered Emily's laugh at their wedding, her vows to stand by him. Now she was a stranger caught in Nate's web. He wanted to save her, but the betrayal stung too deep. "What's next?" he asked. "Keep gathering evidence," Marcus said. "I'm tapping into Nate's emails. Risky, but it'll show his client deals. You need to act normal with Emily, don't let her suspect. I'll set up a meet with Victor." Ethan agreed, though every moment at home with Emily felt like a lie. She was distant, her eyes darting to her phone during dinner. "Everything okay at school?" Ethan asked, testing her. "Fine," she said, too quickly. "Just a lot going on." Her fingers fidgeted, and Ethan noticed a new bracelet, a sleek silver band he'd never seen. A gift from Nate? His blood boiled, but he forced a smile. Late that night, while Emily slept, Ethan checked the tracking app Marcus had installed. Her phone showed texts to Nate. "I can't keep doing this. It's too much." Nate's reply, "You're in too deep, Em. One more party, and I'll let you off." Ethan's fists clenched. Nate was manipulating her, but she'd still chosen to lie, to betray him. He forwarded the texts to Marcus and Laura. The next day, Ethan met Victor Hayes in a discreet hotel bar in Bellevue. Victor, a nervous man in his 50s, sipped whiskey, his eyes scanning the room. "Nate's a snake," he said. "He got me drunk, had Emily play nice, then showed me photos, me with her, looking too cozy. Said he'd leak them unless I signed his deal. I want out, but I need immunity." Ethan nodded, his voice steady. "Testify, and my lawyer will protect you. We're taking Nate down." Victor agreed, handing over a USB drive with emails proving Nate's blackmail. Ethan felt a surge of hope. This was the leverage he needed. Laura called that evening, her tone electric. "Victor's evidence is gold. We've got Nate on coercion and fraud. I'm drafting a civil suit against him for ruining your marriage and his company for unethical practices. But we need one more thing, proof Emily acted under duress. Can you get her to talk?" Ethan's throat tightened. Confronting Emily risked everything, but he needed answers. That night, he waited until she was alone in the kitchen, chopping vegetables. "Em, we need to talk," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I know about Nate. The parties, the clients. Everything." Emily's knife froze mid-chop, her face paling. "Ethan, don't lie," he cut in, his eyes locked on hers. "Are you in trouble? Is he forcing you?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean for this. He promised me a better job, then trapped me." "I'm sorry, Ethan." Her voice broke, but Ethan's heart stayed cold. "Was this remorse or another act?" "Tell me everything," he said. "Or I go to the police." She nodded, trembling, and began to talk. Nate had lured her with career promises, then used compromising photos to keep her at his parties. "I wanted to tell you," she whispered. "But he said he'd ruin us both." Ethan recorded every word, his heart torn between pity and rage. He sent the audio to Laura, who texted back, "This seals it. We've got Nate. Prep for the next step." As Ethan lay awake that night, Emily's confession echoed. He had the evidence to destroy Nate, but what about her? Could he forgive the woman he'd loved, or was she too far gone? One thing was certain, Nate's empire was about to crumble, and Ethan would be the one to bring it down. Ethan Wilson stood in the elevator of Apex Solutions' sleek Seattle office, his resignation letter burning a hole in his pocket. His heart pounded, but his face was a mask of calm. The evidence against Nate Russell, his boss, and Emily's manipulator was ironclad: Victor Hayes' testimony, incriminating emails, and Emily's recorded confession. Ethan had spent weeks building this case with Laura Davis, his lawyer, and Marcus Gray, the private investigator. Today, he'd strike. Nate's empire of deceit was about to collapse. The elevator dinged, and Ethan stepped into Nate's corner office. Nate, all charm and polished confidence, leaned back in his chair. "Ethan, my man. Ready to close out that Silicon Valley deal?" he said, flashing a grin. Ethan forced a nod, sliding the contract across the desk. Tucked beneath it was his resignation letter and a USB drive with a copy of Nate's blackmail emails. "Signed and sealed," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But we need to talk." Nate's brow furrowed, sensing the shift. "What's up?" Ethan locked eyes with him. "I know about the parties, Nate. The clients, the photos, Emily. All of it." Nate's smile vanished, replaced by a cold stare. "Careful, Ethan. You don't know what you're messing with." "I know enough," Ethan said, tapping the USB drive. "Emails, Victor's testimony, audio. You blackmailed clients and used my wife to do it. It's over." Nate leaned forward, his voice low. "You think you can take me down? I've got friends in high places. You'll be out of a job, blacklisted. And Emily? She's not innocent. She wanted in." Ethan's fists clenched, but he held his ground. "We'll see what the court says." He turned to leave, but Nate grabbed his arm. "You're making a mistake," Nate hissed. "Back off or you'll regret it." Ethan pulled free, his voice ice cold. Threaten me again and it's on record. He'd hidden a recorder in his jacket, just as Laura advised. Nate's face paled and Ethan walked out, adrenaline surging. Back home, Emily was waiting, her eyes red from crying. She'd been distant since her confession, avoiding him, but tonight she looked broken. Ethan, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice trembling. Nate called. He knows you're onto him. He's furious. Ethan's stomach twisted. What did he say? He threatened to leak photos of me from the parties, she whispered. Said he'd ruin my career, our lives. I'm scared, Ethan. For a moment, Ethan's resolve wavered. He remembered their early days, Emily's laugh, their late-night talks. But the betrayal cut too deep. You should have told me sooner, he said, his tone flat. I'm done covering for you. I know I messed up, she sobbed. I thought I could handle Nate, but he trapped me. I'm so sorry. Ethan recorded her words, his heart heavy. If you're really sorry, testify against him, he said. Help me end this. Emily nodded, wiping her tears. I will. Whatever it takes. Ethan sent the new audio to Laura, who was already preparing the lawsuit. This is perfect, Laura said over the phone. Emily's testimony plus Victor's nails Nate for coercion and fraud. I'm filing tomorrow, alienation of affection for you, and we'll push for damages against Apex for unethical practices. But Nate's not done. He might try to retaliate. Stay sharp. The next morning, Ethan woke to a text from Caleb, Nate's spreading lies at Apex. Says you stole company data. Watch your back. Ethan's blood boiled. Nate was trying to frame him, just as Laura predicted. He called Marcus, who'd been digging into Nate's emails. Got something, Marcus said. Nate's been emailing a lawyer, planning to pin a data breach on you. I've got the thread forwarding now. Ethan's mind raced. Nate was desperate but sloppy. The emails combined with Victor's USB and Emily's confession were a death blow. Ethan met Laura at her office where she laid out the plan. We filed the suit today, she said. Nate's emails show he's framing you, which strengthens our case. With Emily and Victor testifying, he's cornered. But we need one more thing, a public move to shake him. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. What do you suggest? Leak a teaser to the press, Laura said. Nothing specific, just enough to scare Nate. I know a journalist who can drop a hint about Apex's unethical practices without naming you. Ethan agreed, and by evening a tech blog ran a vague story. Whispers of scandal at Apex Solutions, blackmail allegations surface. Nate called Ethan an hour later, his voice shaking with rage. You think you're clever, huh? This little stunt will cost you everything. Ethan stayed calm, recording every word. Keep talking, Nate. You're digging your own grave. Nate hung up, but the threat lingered. Ethan's phone pinged again, Marcus, with a new video. It showed Nate at his condo, shredding documents, looking frantic. He's panicking, Marcus texted. Caught him dumping evidence. We've got him. Ethan's heart pounded with grim satisfaction. Nate was unraveling, but the fight wasn't over. Emily's testimony was a wild card. Could he trust her to follow through? And what if Nate's connections shielded him? As Ethan prepared for the legal battle, a surprise came, a text from Victor. I'm in. Found another client who'll testify. Nate's done. Ethan stared at the message, hope flickering. With 2 clients, Emily and the evidence, Nate's empire was crumbling. But as he looked at Emily, asleep on the couch, her face etched with guilt, Ethan felt a pang. Could he rebuild after this? Or would justice come at the cost of everything he'd loved? Ethan Wilson sat in the packed Seattle courtroom, his heart steady but heavy. The past weeks had been a whirlwind, building a case against Nate Russell with Laura Davis, his lawyer, and Marcus Gray, the private investigator. Emily's testimony, Victor Hayes' evidence, and a second client's statement had sealed Nate's fate. Today, the judge would decide. Ethan glanced at Emily, seated across the room, her face pale but resolute. Could he forgive her? He wasn't sure, but justice for Nate was certain. Laura stood, her voice commanding as she presented the case. Your Honor, Nate Russell coerced Emily Wilson into compromising situations to blackmail clients, including Victor Hayes, for inflated contracts. He destroyed a marriage and abused his position at Apex Solutions. We have emails, audio, and testimony proving fraud and alienation of affection. She played Nate's recorded threats against Ethan, his voice dripping with venom. The courtroom stirred, the judge's expression stern. Nate's lawyer countered, painting him as a victim of disgruntled employees. But Victor's testimony was damning. Nate threatened to leak compromising photos unless I signed a $2 million deal, he said, his voice firm. The second client, Rachel Kim from Nexus Tech, echoed him. He used Emily to charm us, then blackmailed me with footage. Emily took the stand, her voice trembling. Nate promised me a promotion, then trapped me with threats. I betrayed my husband, and I'm sorry. Ethan's chest tightened. Her remorse seemed genuine, but the pain lingered. The judge deliberated briefly before ruling. Mr. Russell, your actions were predatory and unethical. This court awards Ethan Wilson $1 million in damages for alienation of affection and orders Apex Solutions to pay $500,000 for enabling fraud. Nate's face crumpled, his empire shattered. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Justice was his. Outside, reporters swarmed. The tech blog's teaser had exploded into a full scandal, tanking Apex's stock. Nate, now jobless, faced criminal charges for blackmail, his connections useless. Ethan avoided the cameras, slipping into a cafe with Laura. You did it, she said, smiling. Nate's finished, and you're free. But freedom felt hollow. Ethan returned home to find Emily packing. I'm moving to Portland, she said, her eyes red. I need to start over, fix myself. I know you can't forgive me, but I'm so sorry, Ethan. He nodded, his throat tight. I forgive you, he said quietly, but I can't trust you. She left, tears streaming, and Ethan felt a weight lift, but also a void. Caleb, his friend from Empire Technologies, called that night. Heard about the verdict. Congrats, man. Want a job with us? Fresh start, no baggage. Ethan smiled for the first time in weeks. I'm in, he said. Empire offered a senior role, a chance to rebuild. But first, he needed to heal. Ethan started therapy with Dr. Sarah Klein, a calm woman who helped him unpack the betrayal. You're not defined by this, she said. You chose justice over revenge, strength over despair. Sessions became his anchor, helping him process the pain. He also began volunteering at a local tech mentorship program, teaching kids to code. It gave him purpose, a spark he'd lost. One evening at a mentorship event, Ethan met Lisa, a software engineer with a quick wit and kind eyes. They bonded over shared projects, her laugh easing the ache in his chest. You seem like someone who's been through it, she said over coffee. Ethan nodded, sharing a vague version of his story. I'm starting over, he said. Feels good. Lisa smiled. Here's to new beginnings. Months later, Ethan stood on his balcony, Seattle's skyline glittering. The $1.5 million from the lawsuit sat in his account, but the real victory was his peace. Nate was gone, facing trial. Emily had sent a letter saying she was in therapy trying to rebuild. Ethan wished her well but didn't reply. His heart was open, not to her, but to hope. With Lisa's number saved and a new job thriving, Ethan knew he'd survive the storm. The future was his to shape.